So, I'm just glad that I get to share my song, and I'm glad you're listening, and you're answering back.
I'm sorry, but who the hell is this supposed to be? Because last time I checked, Jim Carrey's eyes are brown, not blue. So who the hell is this? These aren't the same person, guys. This is insane. They got to Jim Carrey, guys.
Excuse me, but who is this man? You guys know I'm never down for conspiracy theories, and I always come on here and debunk them, but I'm with you guys on this. This is not Jim Carrey. Whose nose is that? Whose nose is that? Whose eyes are those? Whose face is that? Now, I've seen a lot of people commenting saying, oh, maybe he got a facelift. Maybe he got some work done. Why is the whole configuration of his nose completely different? It literally looks like there's a cast of a different nose over whoever's nose that is. And the amount of makeup. When have we ever seen Jim Carrey step out in a full face of makeup? I see the bronzer on his nose. Let's go. Y'all are going to tell me that's not bronzer? Since when? I understand he's in his 60s now, but he has never, ever come out with bronzer on his face, full face of makeup, eyebrows filled in. Who is this?
Bro, there is no way that's actually Jim Carrey. This video of Jim Carrey is going around right now and people are genuinely concerned. I mean, I saw this video and I thought he had to be putting on a look for a new role or something. Cause I mean, just look at him now compared to him at the Sonic 3 premiere. I mean, he looks like he's wearing prosthetics or something. And it's crazy because back in 2025, there were actual medical professionals making videos about how he was already starting to look different. Like this guy pointed out in his vid, look at how he looks compared to 2022 through 2025. Like something was going on. And I don't know why, it just hardly sounds like him and his demeanor's acting kind of funny.
Jim Carrey recently appeared at an award ceremony in France, and whatever walked onto that stage wasn't the person we've known for 30 years. The eyes were wrong, his movements were off, and the famous rubber face that made him a star seemed frozen. Locked, like someone had forgotten to turn on the switch that makes Jim Carrey actually be Jim Carrey. This isn't about one weird photo or a bad angle or him having an off day. This is about a systematic, observable shift in virtually every identifiable characteristic of a human being. Physical features that don't match, behavior that's completely inverted from decades of documented patterns, and most disturbingly, a personality that seems to have been flipped like a switch. I'm not going to sit here and tell you definitively that Jim Carrey has been replaced by a clone or a body double. What I'm going to do is show you the evidence that has people asking these questions, walk you through what Jim himself said about replacement before this happened, and then let you decide what you're actually looking at. Because here's the thing, whether it's literally true or not, the fact that this conversation is happening at all, the fact that it's believable enough that millions of people are seriously considering it, tells you something deeply disturbing about where we are as a culture. Jim Carrey has had deep brown eyes his entire career. Thousands of hours of footage, hundreds of photos, all showing the same eye color. The person at the French award ceremony has bluish-green eyes. Now, colored contacts exist. That's the immediate explanation. But why would Jim Carrey, who's never worn colored contacts in any public appearance over a 40-year career, suddenly start wearing colored contacts to an awards show? And it's not just the color, it's the expression behind them. Jim Carrey's eyes were always the most animated part of his face, constantly moving, communicating, reacting. These eyes are flat, like someone forgot to turn on whatever makes eyes look alive. The face shape is also different. His nose is bigger, wider, the cheekbones sit differently. He's puffy, almost bloated looking. You can argue plastic surgery. Rich celebrities get work done, it's not exactly groundbreaking, but the work is bad, like really bad. Jim Carrey has unlimited resources, access to the best cosmetic surgeons in the world, and yet the result looks like someone tried to recreate his face from memory and got the proportions slightly wrong. Now listen to his voice. This is from an interview from just 2 years ago. Not only does he look completely different, he sounds different too.
Because we were here with our collective idol,
No
Mr.
one
Jim
would
Carrey.
ever know it. You are so slick right out of the gate.
Right?
Unbelievable the way you put that together.
It's not our first rodeo, Jim.
Are you a student of the National Institute of Broadcasting by any chance?
Born and raised.
Really?
Yeah.
It's something more special, I think, to come here and be recognized. I feel like I have a connection with people. All of these films that have kind of stood the test of time and been special for people for a while, they're too much to ask for.
The old Jim was manic, explosive, Dynamic range from whisper to scream, constantly shifting energy. The new Jim is soft, measured, almost monotone. He almost seems introverted and shy. Voices change with age. Vocal cords get older. But this doesn't seem like aging. This is a fundamental difference in his voice and how he presents himself. You can explain away physical differences, bad plastic surgery, aging, contacts, voice coaching, whatever. It's a stretch, but it's technically possible. What you can't explain away is a complete change in personality.
Wait, tell me, is it true you're wandering the streets? You need a date to the party? What's up?
No. I'm doing just fine. I just, there's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
They're
I
celebrating.
mean, you got to admit it's completely meaningless.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe
icons.
in
Boy,
icons?
that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons?
Jim Carrey famously hated awards shows. He mocked them. He made fun of the whole process. When he did show up, he treated it like performance art, like he was commenting on the absurdity of Hollywood, congratulating itself. He gave bizarre speeches, made uncomfortable jokes, and generally made it clear that he thought the whole thing was ridiculous. But the Jim Carrey at the award show in France is beaming with excitement, genuinely happy to be there, speaking softly and respectfully about how honored he is.
Touched to be a part of this great tradition. I feel as if I just won the lottery. And it's something more special, I think, to come here and be recognized.
This is not the Jim Carrey people have grown to know and love for the past 40 years. It's almost like someone who is pretending to be Jim but doing a very poor job at it. In 2020, Jim Carrey published a book called Memoirs and Misinformation. It's marketed as fiction, but Jim described it as the most truthful thing he'd ever created. In his book, Jim Carrey discovers he's being replaced by biodigital avatars. Hollywood elites are creating digital and physical copies of celebrities to replace them when they become difficult or unpredictable. The real Jim watches as fake versions of himself take over his life, his career, and his identity. Now, 5 years after the book was released, he shows up looking and acting like he's been replaced. Was he trying to tell us what was going to happen to him before it happened? And if you think that's reading too much into it, remember that Jim has explicitly talked about how Hollywood creates personas that consume the real person. He's described feeling like the Jim Carrey character took over his actual identity. He's talked about ego death and dissolving the self and how freeing it would be to stop being Jim. What if that was preparation? What if he was being told what was coming and the book was his way of warning us? It's not like he hasn't tried to tell us things before. In 2014, he went on Jimmy Kimmel and spent the entire interview making Illuminati symbols and talking about blowing the whistle on the industry.
Is that a gang sign? Have you,
Oh, like you don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is. Right? Yeah.
What is it?
Come on, Jimmy. Seriously, the time is up. People are hip to this kind of stuff. I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies.
What happens to people who try to expose the system from the inside? What happens when you become too unpredictable, too truthful, too willing to break the fourth wall? Maybe this is what happens. And here's the thing. You might be able to explain Jim Carrey away as one weird case. Bad surgery, personality change, midlife crisis, whatever narrative makes you comfortable. But it's not just Jim. This has become a pattern in Hollywood in recent years. Miley Cyrus, Kelly Osbourne, Selena Gomez, Bradley Cooper, Ryan Seacrest. The list grows longer every day, and patterns indicate systems. Not one-off weird occurrences, but systematic operations. So if this is real, if celebrities are actually being replaced, how are they doing it? I don't think cloning is the most likely answer. Cloning technology exists, but growing a full adult human clone from birth as a replacement is unlikely, in my opinion. It could be body doubles in addition to plastic surgery. You find someone with similar bone structure, surgically alter them to match the target, train them extensively in mannerisms and voice. It's not perfect, which is why we notice differences, but it's good enough for controlled public appearances. There could also be advanced programs we don't know about. Technology is typically 20 to 30 years ahead of what the public sees. If they're working on synthetic humans, biodigital hybrids, consciousness transfer, we wouldn't know about it until they decided to tell us. The specifics don't matter as much as the capability. The technology exists in some form to replace a human being with something close enough that most people won't notice. But the real question isn't how, it's why. Why would Hollywood or the government or whoever's running this operation want to replace celebrities? Control. That's the simple answer. A real human being is unpredictable. They have bad days. They say things they're not supposed to say. They develop moral objections to certain projects. They try to expose the system. And they become liabilities. A replacement does exactly what it's told. It shows up on time, says the scripted lines, smiles for the cameras, and never questions orders. But there's a deeper purpose here, and it's more disturbing than simple control of individual celebrities. They want you questioning reality. They want you unable to trust your own perception. They want you looking at people you've known your entire life and wondering, is that really them? Because once you can't trust your own eyes, once you can't be sure what's real and what's fake, you become paralyzed. You stop resisting because you don't even know what you're resisting against. And beyond that, they're building a system of replaceable branded people. The person doesn't matter, the brand matters. Jim Carrey, the brand, can continue indefinitely, generating revenue, selling products, influencing culture, long after Jim Carrey, the human being, is gone. You're not watching a person anymore, you're watching intellectual property. And intellectual property can be updated, modified, replaced, and optimized for maximum profit. So what did we actually see at the award show in France? We don't know, and that's the point. Maybe it was Jim Carrey, who's had a lot of cosmetic work done and has mellowed with age and decided to embrace the Hollywood system he spent decades mocking. Maybe it's a body double who's been surgically altered and extensively trained to replace someone who became too unpredictable. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Something we don't have the framework to understand yet because the technology is still classified. What I do know is this. Jim Carrey wrote a book about being replaced. He tried to expose the Hollywood system. He talked extensively about ego death and dissolving the self. And then he showed up looking and acting like a different person. And he's not alone. There's a pattern of celebrities undergoing dramatic transformations that go beyond aging or plastic surgery into something that looks like replacement. We've reached a point where celebrity replacement is not only technologically possible, it's expected. We're being conditioned to accept that the people we see on screen might not be people at all. And once we accept that, once we normalize the idea that reality is negotiable and people are replaceable, we've crossed a line we can't come back from. Jim Carrey used to make us laugh by distorting reality, by being so cartoonishly expressive that he didn't seem real. Now he makes us uncomfortable by being too stiff and too uncanny, like someone's doing an impression of Jim Carrey but can't quite get the details right. The rubber face that made him famous is gone. The manic energy that defined his career has been replaced with something smoother, safer, more corporate. He doesn't move like Jim Carrey. He doesn't sound like Jim Carrey. He doesn't act like Jim Carrey. Maybe he got replaced, maybe he didn't. But the fact that millions of people are asking the question at all tells you everything you need to know about where we're headed, because Jim Carrey isn't the first, and he won't be the last.
Yeah, then I watched everybody like talking 1,000 miles an hour up there, receiving their awards, and I was like, I'm dead. And I was like, I'm dead.